Welcome to the Shine Your Light, Reach Your Best podcast. I'm your host, Claire Thomas. I'm on a mission to support women who feel stuck, unfulfilled and disempowered have a successful, fulfilled, soul-led life. I guide women to reawaken their unique power so they can shine their light and reach their best. This podcast is designed to support and enrich the Shine Your Light, Reach Your Best self-development coaching cards. Thank you for joining me. Now sit back, relax, and let's work out how to shine all our lights brightly. Hello and welcome to episode 16 of the Shine Your Light, Reach Your Best podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's a pleasure, an honour and a privilege to have you here with me. So what am I going to talk about today? I'm going to talk to you about the problem with people pleasing. So it's a topic that I think is really interesting. It's something that many of us do. It's also something that many women do. And it really can get to a place where it doesn't serve us very well. So I'm going to call on some of the knowledge that I've built up about people pleasing from working with positive intelligence during this episode. But I'm also going to draw your attention to this card. It's card number 40 from the Shine Your Light, Reach Your Best coaching cards. It's number 40. And I was drawn to this card because I love the image. Hopefully you can see that there. I'm assuming it's some sort of underwater animals, but I'm not particularly sure. But I absolutely love these colours. I love the shapes and the patterns. And that's what really drew me to the card today. It's exactly the sort of images that I would like to take if I spent more time doing photography. So on the bottom of the card, it says, help others by allowing them to grow. And I think that's one of the really important things about people pleasing, is that often we believe that when we are keeping others happy by pleasing them, that we're actually stopping them from growing themselves because we're doing too much for them. So maybe that is a little bit thought-provoking for you. Maybe that touches a nerve. I don't know. On the back of the card, it says, it's in our nature to love and nurture. We get a lot out of making and seeing those who are important to us happy. But what happens when we take people pleasing too far and to the detriment of our own well-being? So what does happen when we take people pleasing too far? Can you think of an example of a time when you have said yes to somebody to keep them happy and that it's made you really unhappy doing so? I can think personally of many times when I've accepted an invitation to go to something and then in the whole lead up to it, asked myself, why did I say yes? I really didn't want to go. That isn't the sort of thing that I enjoy doing. Why did I say yes? And you end up beating yourself up about saying yes. Why couldn't I be stronger? Why couldn't I have said no? It can be hard to own up to those decisions. And maybe somewhere underneath all of that, you're believing that if that person, if you say no to that person, then maybe they won't like you anymore. Maybe they won't invite you anymore. And maybe underneath it's partly those reasons are having you say yes instead of no. So people pleasing, if we look at it from an evolutionary perspective, people pleasers have many strengths. So they like to gain acceptance and affection by helping, pleasing, rescuing, or flattering others. And they often lose sight of their own needs and become resentful as a result. I'm taking this from some of the positive intelligence material that I work with. So it's a people pleaser's tries to earn attention through helping others. So to fulfill their own needs of being loved or being wanted or being seen or heard, they do what they can to help other people. And in doing this in childhood and then carrying it on into adulthood and all through adulthood, what we're actually doing in that situation is telling ourselves that we need to put other people's needs ahead of our own. And that if we ask for our own needs to be fulfilled, that will put people off and drive them away. And another aspect of it could be that if you give a lot, that you have to give a lot of love and affection in order to receive it back. Love is supposed to be unconditional. When there are conditions placed on love, it's not really true love. When we believe that we are worthy of unconditional love, it's a very, very different place to be. So what happens is because of all of these beliefs that are in place, we believe that we are obligated to care for other people and to put their needs first. And when we start to abuse or overuse this putting other people first, there are many impacts that can have on us, on our relationship with others, and also on our performance. We can come across as needy, which is off-putting to other people. It can be very energy draining to be with people that are people pleasing. It can be very, very difficult. So the thought that this sort of person would have, a people pleaser, is that they need, if to be a good person, they need to put their needs ahead of, put the needs of others ahead of their own. And if they can't make anybody like them, then and if you don't help and rescue other people, then who will rescue those other people? People pleasers believe that they're doing this because they're being selfless and they don't expect anything in return, and that the world would be a better place if everybody else were to say yes and be kind and loving to everybody else. But this neediness that comes with it is what drives other people away, and it leaves a people pleaser feeling resentful for being taken for granted, for not being accepted for who they are, and they also might have a lot of difficulty in expressing those feelings as well. So they are hidden within them. So what happens in the case of a people pleaser is that it has very many impacts on their well-being. What often happens is that their wellness is impacted because they don't look after themselves. They put everybody else first, and they spread themselves too thinly. And this can only go on for so long until we reach this point of burnout, because we don't have any more energy to give. And then there's that deep-seated feeling of resentment that other people aren't giving back to us what we give to them. And that imbalance is where that resentment comes from. It can be difficult to build deep and meaningful relationships when we people please, because we're not being honest and authentic about the truth of the relationships. So we're not standing up to what we believe. We're not telling the other person that they're draining us, that they are asking too much of us, and that we don't have the time and the energy for it. And the other person, whether they can articulate those feelings or not, they sense them, they feel them. And that can really start to erode at relationships that mean a lot to us. And often it can lead to that feeling that relationships are just are one way, and that too much is being given away and not enough is being received back. And then because a people pleaser says yes to too much, they end up wasting very much of their time because they haven't set enough boundaries. if they were to say no to more and have healthier healthier boundaries, that would lead to stronger relationships with other people, which would be more two-way and more fulfilling. So I wonder whether any of this resonates with you. If you can think of times when you have been people-pleasing, and I urge you to, if you are interacting with people that you find it very difficult to say no to practice imagining being in that situation with them and pausing, being in the moment, reconnecting with your breath, and then choosing a different response, really deciding whether you saying yes or no is a win-win for both people. It shouldn't always be a win for the other person and a loss for yourself. And that can really start to make a huge difference. Now, of course, I'm not saying at all that that you should be going out and saying no to everybody and everything. Absolutely not. But before you say yes, just step back, connect with your heart, with your sage, and say to yourself, am I saying yes from a place of love, or is it from a place of fear where I believe that I want to be loved myself? And that is the important difference to make between these two situations. Are you pleasing somebody for love and it's a win-win? Or are you saying yes to keep them happy because you fear what their reaction may be? I hope I've got that point across well enough. It's probably not the most succinct of messages to communicate. I would urge anybody that resonates with this sort of behaviour to take the self-sabotage quiz. I will provide a link to that in the show notes. And please feel free to book a call with me to go through the results of your saboteur assessment. It's very insightful. I've had some very rewarding sessions with clients recently where they've come away saying that it's incredibly insightful and empowering to have just this free session with me. So I will leave that for you here. I am not going to be recording a podcast for next week as I will be away, but I will be back in 2 weeks' time. So for now, keep shining your light, keep reaching for your best, and I look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Shine Your Light, Reach Your Best podcast. Your support is greatly appreciated, so please follow the show. I'd love you to like, comment and share this episode with anyone else whose light needs some help shining. I'd love to hear from you, and I'm open to having guests on my podcast. So if you would like to share your story, please send me an email to claire@reachingmybest.com or click on the link in the show notes. So for now, keep shining and reaching for your best.